1,000 salaried Ford workers retire after pension warning from automaker. Detroit retirement eligible salaried employees at Ford were warned and advised about retiring this year to maximize a lump sum pension payment. The company confirmed Wednesday that approximately 1,000 employees elected to retire by the December 1st deadline. If you are considering retiring and choosing the lump sum option, it is important to understand the impact of higher interest rates on your individual lump sum amount should you retire after December 1st, 2022, read the Ford memo, which also included a brief survey to help the company plan for employee retirements. The warning, sent to employees in an email in September with the subject line Important Information Regarding Your Pension, specifically pointed out that anyone who is considering retiring and opting for a lump sum payment needs to look at the numbers. Rising interest rates in 2022 will trigger a significant drop in the potential payout for those who choose the lump sum pension option next year. So, how much will the pension payments drop in 2023? So, the lump sum for 2023, according to the Ford memo, would decrease by an estimated 20 to 25% relative to the lump sum values that Ford employees would get if they took it in 2022. Like, that is so beyond stupid, right? So, you're going to get penalized almost a quarter of your total pension if you were to take it after 2022. Like, what a scam. My, my God. So, for example, if someone is looking at a $500,000 lump sum payout in 2022, the loss in 2023 could be in the range of $100,000 to $125,000. Like, this is such a disgusting thing that would happen. So, retirees who opt for the traditional monthly pension wouldn't see a change based on higher interest rates or inflation. Many pensions don't include cost of living adjustments that would boost a monthly pension check based on inflation, like Social Security does. Choosing a lump sum payout is an option, not a requirement. So, my line of thinking is that they're trying to basically minimize their total cost for the next couple of years, right? Which is why they basically did this whole lump sum payment amount because they know that people are going to probably lean more towards the lump sum payment and they are more than willing to like just retire early, meaning in total they're going to get less of a pension by just taking it now, right? So that because they're basically too afraid that they might end up basically getting far less money if they were to wait till the next year. So pretty much this isn't like Ford doing something to necessarily help their employees. It's basically they're basically trying to convince they try to convince as many employees as possible to basically take the lump sum at a potentially like the best way to explain it, they want to fire people without really firing people in a way, right? Because if you hear like, oh no, if I wait till next year to take my retirement, I'm going to lose like $100,000 potentially, right? But the reality is, these are all employees that were already getting salaries. Like they are all salaried. They are all probably making a decent amount of money to the point where it would actually cost Ford more to keep them around for the next few years than them just taking a lump sum payment and then leaving. Because here's the thing, when you take a lump sum payment, you take far less than what you would have if you were to take the monthly payment from your pension. That being said, your pension is typically not invested in really anything good, so you're not actually really getting a good return on your money. So, like financially speaking, if you do not need to touch the money that you get, financially speaking, it would probably be better to actually take the lump sum, right? But that's if you were to basically invest all the money that you get, which some people might be able to do that, others maybe not so much. So that's something to really factor in as well. Like, for example, we could just not use pensions as an example, but actually like the lottery to keep it more simple, right? Say you were to win like $1 million lottery. If you take the lump sum, you're going to get less than half the amount of money because you also got to factor in taxes. So the actual amount of money that you really have out of the $1 million that you actually should get is only maybe like 450 or $400,000 out of the million. Like think about that for a second. Now I'm just using that as like an example, right? But if you were to take the annual amount, you'll get paid out the full $1 million over like the next 20 years, but you're only going to be getting about like 40K per year, and you also still have to pay taxes on that, right? So it really comes down to what is your financial situation at the moment where this would actually make sense. The thing is, I don't really like them basically kind of threatening their employees, basically saying, like, hey, if you don't retire this year, you are going to lose thousands upon thousands of dollars. It's like, what? That is so crazy. And again, the only reason why they're doing something like this is because it's actually cheaper for more people to retire early, take the lump sum because they don't got to pay out as much as they would have had to, and just be done with the person, basically just cut ties with them, right? Not to mention, they no longer have to pay payroll. But you got to keep in mind, this is like 1,000 people getting paid payroll, which who knows what they were actually getting paid per year. And I'm guessing they were probably getting paid almost six figures a year, is just my guess, just because of how long they were basically working at Ford to the point where they actually have a pension. That's my thought, is that they were probably all getting paid roughly six figures a year anyways, or close to it. So that is a lot of money to be paying in payroll. So that alone, cutting that out completely, would potentially be worth it for them to do this whole lump sum thing. Because now that just completely stops the cost. It completely stops the hemorrhaging of the amount of money that they're spending. So let's see. Join the conversation. I just love the way these jealous anti union commenters bash unions because they're too terrified and cowards to form one. I guess they love having lousy wages, no benefits, and then wonder why their employees have no respect for them. Yes, I'm a retired union member, several of them, and enjoy my defined union pensions. Social Security and VA benefits that allow my wife and I to have a comfortable retirement. Get rid of the anti union right to work for nothing laws, and maybe today's workers could have a decent retirement too. The Reds have been trying to destroy unions since their inception, and it's not going to work. As a matter of fact, unions are thankfully on the rise again. Interesting. So many years I worked in the manufacturing management and consulting side of the automotive industry. During this time, I witnessed many exit with lump sum payments, and most burned through their funds within 5.82 years. Having so much available cash led to large, unnecessary purchases, mismanagement of investments, and yes, gambling. My advice was throw caution to the wind before accepting such. The company wins in the long run as it reduces the retirement capitalization requirements. Remember, nothing is free. And I agree with this statement completely. But like not only that, right? And we're going to use the lottery example again. But keep in mind, like personal finance is personal. So if you are someone that was basically living paycheck to paycheck and then you basically have an option of getting a massive chunk of money, or you go with the route of getting paid monthly or yearly, depending on how the pension is set up, guess what you're going to do, right? Like if you were to go the lump sum route, there's a very high likelihood that you are going to blow all of the money and then some. Whereas if you were to take the pension route or the annuity route, you might screw up a few years, but it is very unlikely for you to screw up for the total length of time that you're getting your payouts, right? So if you're extremely bad with your money and you're facing the option between a lump sum pension payment or getting paid monthly or yearly for your pension, and again, if you're super bad with money, I would take the pension route. If that was me in that situation and I was that bad with money, I would take the pension route because I can't trust myself around large sums of money. But if I was good at managing money, if I was already investing towards my future already, if I was already debt free, if I was already got money in the bank, where basically to the point where I don't actually need to really touch this money, then I would end up taking the lump sum and just invest the money into something that would potentially produce some sort of cash flow for me that would pay me more than what the pension would actually pay me in terms of like an annuity. So that's something that, like, how I would go about it, right? Because again, personal finance is personal and you got to be honest with yourself. So they're going to wish they had that they retired. The switch to EVs is going to be a massive failure. Let's see. So a couple of things here. This is one way to get employees off the payroll without having to lay them off and providing severance. Smart move by Ford. There are layoffs coming. You'll see layoffs throughout the country next year. This would be significant. The economy cannot be this poor with almost double digit inflation and have employment continue to be at the record levels it has been at over the past 8 years. Finally, the age of pensions is coming to an end. Manufacturers and municipalities cannot afford to fund them. This has nothing to do with being pro or anti union, this is just a fact. Interesting. So, feel free to give your thoughts on this, but if I was in this situation, I would personally take the retirement. I would take the Yeah, I think I'd take the retirement. I'd take the lump sum payment and then probably buy a few properties in cash and then just rent them out for the cash flow, like the income that it actually produces per month, to basically replace and provide even more than what the pension would actually pay me in a per month amount, right? And the reason why I would buy these properties in cash is because I don't know how long it would actually take to get someone inside those properties actually paying rent, right? And also, even if there wasn't really anyone in there, I could basically cover the property taxes of those properties without really worrying too much if it's all cash paid, right? Like, there's very little upkeep if everything's paid off. That's my route. Like that's my viewpoint on it. That's how I would probably go about in doing it because I would want that immediate monthly cash flow, or at least as soon as possible, because you're going to make more return with real estate, like a lot faster return in terms of like a livable income through real estate compared to like stocks, index funds, and whatnot. But I have nothing against index funds. I like index funds. They're very carefree. You don't really got to think about it, which is always a nice thing. But if the goal is to basically replace like what a pension technically does, which is basically pay you like a livable income, then I would probably go more towards real estate so that I could provide myself with some sort of monthly income to where worst case comes, if I lose like a main source of income, I can rely on the rental income from those paid off properties. That's the way that I would view it.